Do you want to start a business, get out of the office, achieve happiness and success while crushing life? This is Boss to Boss, the place to be for that extra motivation to get up and follow your dreams while learning from the ones who have already done it. And now for your host, Miro Wieslow.
Welcome to Boss to Boss. Today's guest has used her 12 years of struggle with gambling addiction, which almost took her life, to educate, inspire, and create change in the areas of advocacy in gambling reform and founding the Hope Project. She has recently been featured on TEDx and has been featured on TV shows such as The Today Show, ABC, CNN, and is a World Kindness Australia Goodwill Ambassador. Kate Seselja, it's a pleasure to have you on. How are you doing today?
I'm so well. Thank you, Miro, for having me.
And for everybody tuning in, whether you're watching on YouTube, on Facebook, or on the podcast, whether, Apple, Google, we support all. If you want to follow along and see more of Kate Seselja and see more of her story and put a face to the name, check out thehopeprojectnow.com, or you could check out on Facebook at The Hope Project Now, and you could definitely find Kate Seselja right there as the founder. Is there any other links that you prefer, or are those the main kind of two where people can find you?
Yeah, and the .hope.project on Instagram is the other. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, Kate, quite a story you have there, and that's not even getting into all of it. You are a mom of six, right? As you say in Australia, a mom.
Yeah.
That's a part of it, and now running the whole project. And tell us, can you tell us a little bit more about this spiral and that you've kind of went down and what it took to get back up over here and kind of take control of your life? Just a quick little recap.
Absolutely. So I began gambling like most people do. They go into a venue thinking they're going there for like a social thing, because here in Australia we have slot machines in clubs and pubs and nightclubs. So they're just kind of everywhere. And I sat down with my boyfriend and won kind of straight away and thought, wow, that was easy,
So you won right away, right in the beginning?
Right away.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, being 18 at the time, I had no idea about how they've been intentionally designed to, mentally manipulate you and the way brain addiction works. And so, I just struggled with it, hijacking my mind for the next, decade and a half until 32. I was done. I tried several times to try and quit and get different kinds of help, and nothing had kind of worked because everything had been focused on stopping the behavior. It wasn't, I just wasn't given any answers about what was going on inside of me, biologically speaking, and also understanding the intentional design of the machine. So if you are missing these gaps of information, then you're left with, I am the problem. And so shame, self-loathing, all of that, is very, very powerful in that space. So that's the area, I guess, that I work now in trying to correct the gaps in information and helping people to recognize when their well-being is being damaged by a person, a product, or an environment, and how to restore that, how to restore their wholeness.
So essentially, you're like being here in America, the American way, I would say, is always just kind of throw pills at the problem, right? Is that kind of the way, like patch it, you see the problem, throw ways just to try to fix it, but not actually get to the source, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, Totally. There's so many band-aid solutions and a lot of shaming of the people, saying, well, you should gamble responsibly, or you're a problem gambler. So these terms have been used by the industry to make it the individual's problem so that people don't look at the industry that's causing the problems.
And the whole project now, the whole project in general, what is it striving to do different? What's the biggest mission?
Well, I really have changed the vernacular that I use when speaking to people who have struggled with addiction and help them to see where their well-being has been damaged and how to restore it. So, I don't focus on whatever it is that they're struggling with. I look, to help the individual be empowered to recognise their own mind, body, and that connection. So for me, really challenging the way people view themselves when they're in that space, and helping family members around that person properly understand what's going on. Because when there's been a struggle in a family, often there's a lot of pain associated with that. And so when we're operating from a pain place, we're not in our conscious brain. We're in our emotional, driven brain. And that is a dangerous place, because even though we think that we're acting with good intentions, we can, really be operating out of our own pain instead of seeing and having the proper compassion for a person, in the grip of addiction.
And did you know this is what you were going to do? Like, for example, were you working a 9 to 5 prior? Did you know that, like, here I am 12 years later after this whole, the beginning of this, did you know you were just going to start something up and, run with it? Did you have any idea?
I didn't at the time. I had no clue. I had jobs during the period that I struggled with this addiction, and I kept thinking, if anybody finds out this about me, I'll kill myself. I was just so afraid of people knowing that I'd struggled. I'd got to that place. And so in contrast to that, when I, reconnected back to myself and restored my self-esteem and was practicing self-care and really growing in self-awareness every day, I realized that I wasn't alone, and that there weren't people talking about this in a constructive way. It was only ever shame-fueled, fear-driven conversations rather than actually constructive ways of seeing the person in their pain and helping them find constructive pathways out of it. And so it kind of grew. I first trained to be a recovery facilitator, and I'd be sitting there on a Monday night waiting for people to walk through the door, and I thought, no, this is crazy. I'm already waiting for people to have imploded their life. And I thought I want to be more proactive in that. So then I started speaking publicly about it.
At this point, you're waiting for something that's already going to happen, right? And it happened, and it's like...
Yeah. You're already waiting for them to identify the problem rather than speak into it in the early stages or before it even happens, and talk and educate so that people can recognize the early signs that their body needs more. And, you yourself recognized you needed more. And you may not have gone down the path of addiction, but it can look like mental health struggles. It can look like violence. It can look like, just a number of things that it speaks into the pain that we feel as a society of not actually being taught how to be a sustainable human being.
Yeah, and it's taboo, right? I mean, it's not something you want to just talk about with anybody. You're not just going to go out there and put yourself out there in front of everybody, right? Like, oh, I got these issues. What can I do?
Yeah. But if people don't bridge that gap and make space for it to be okay to be a human being,
exactly,
then people stay trapped in their isolation. And that's why our, mental health, addiction, suicide rates are so high, because people fundamentally feel alone and disconnected and absolutely without answers as to why.
Can you take us through a day, in the life, I guess, a few years back while you said you were trying to hide this while being at work? Can you kind of take us through a day?
Yeah. I'd wake up basically in a sweat, feeling that fear of how am I going to pay my bills today? What I've just worked, a whole nother week and now there's no money. Constantly mentally hijacked by thinking about a win or absolutely gripped in fear of, regret of a loss. Feeling angry that I was, I felt that I was profoundly broken and I didn't know why my mind kept betraying me. And kind of putting my hand up numerous times and asking for help and being met with, well, why don't you just stop? Yeah. Or, don't you know if you keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different answer, you're insane? And it's like, oh, great. So now I'm insane. Thanks. Or don't you have a family, Oh, okay, great. So there's more guilt and shame on top of that. Do you think if I thought I knew how to stop this, I wouldn't have done it already, Right. So, absolutely just either white knuckling it or just in the floating between the grip of fear and anxiety or low depression.
And this probably puts you in a position where you didn't go out of your way to do other things, right? You weren't like thinking outside of the box. Oh, you were just working, right? It was just every single day was blending into the next day, I would think, right?
Yeah.
I think
definitely.
Excuse me. This could relate to a lot of people right now, a lot of listeners that are listening, whether or not they are struggling with, we're all kind of addicted to something, right? At the end of the day. Mm-hmm. So whether or not gambling is your addiction or it's totally something else, if you're sitting there in your cubicle, you're sitting there at work and you're going in every single day and every day is blending into the next day, you're just doing the bare minimum to get by and going home and watching TV and then same thing over and over. I mean, isn't that in itself also an addiction, right?
Absolutely.
In a sense.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's where I was. I had, obviously I'm not perfect either. I had other things, that I was, we all have our own poison and it was getting out of that. It was stepping out of that day-to-day, that realm, which was the hardest thing. And how did you step out of that? Like what made you just break through it and do what you're doing now? You're doing so many amazing things now. How did you get there?
It was really just finding that voice within me. And, at first it was such a struggle because I didn't think I was worthy enough to speak into that space. I thought it was the domain of professionals, and I thought, who am I to really speak into this space? And I went along as an observer to the first addiction conference I just was curious to know about what the latest stuff was being talked about and who are the professionals in the space. And I remember sitting there thinking, holy crap, if this is the level of thinking that's happening, right now, and we are nowhere near where people need to be thinking in order to break free of this, or are we just content with parking people in pain and leaving them there, labeling them and, kind of walking away and maintaining this facade that there is normal people and there are addicted, broken people. It's all crap. We're all human. There isn't these levels. It's such a facade. So, I've since putting, just gaining each day, just more and more strength and more research that I just did, just totally driven by curiosity to find answers that made sense to me and put them in a way that was easy for people to understand and language that they could hold on to and take practical steps to regain that curiosity within themselves and find answers that make sense for them. Because I don't believe in magic pills and quick fixes.
Oh, yeah.
It's work that people have to do within themselves. But in order to do that, you have to be first met and seen as a human being and being able to be okay with that.
Were you doing all this while you were still in your addiction? Like, is that where you started?
No, it really happened after.
Okay.
So I spent time on me first.
Okay, got it.
Before I decided to go public. The journey of the beginning of the Hope Project happened about 2 years after my own recovery journey, or I actually call it restoration.
That's a good way to put it.
And, yeah.
I like that.
So I believe the term recovery is another label of keeping people separate. And so I say, I'm restored. I'm as whole as the next person, because there's nothing that owns me now. I'm in control of my mind. I am grateful for the experience of my struggle because it has given me a language to be able to communicate with others who are in pain and help them find their way back, and
I love that.
Not find their way back. I correct myself, move forward through it, grow through it.
Exactly.
I think you've got to be very careful about this, because I spent 10 years trying to go back and trying to never, ever have walked into a club and never, ever playing a machine. But all that was doing was keeping me in the past. It wasn't helping me see what I'd learned and grown through and accumulated in order to move forward. And that's something I really try and help people to reframe, because if we don't look at it like that, we stay trapped in regret.
And do you think having that mentality now, that mindset that you've learned over this experience has allowed you to succeed with your business?
Yes.
Essentially,
yes.
I know it's a non-for-profit, and but in a sense, it's still a business. And has that kind of helped you?
Well, it's funny you say that. I've just actually changed to become a social enterprise because the non-profit structure here in Australia, I don't know what it's like over there. But
oh yeah, over here it's probably way different than over there, so I probably shouldn't have assumed.
No, it just is a very big logistical kind of nightmare as far as paperwork and
Okay.
that kind of thing. So it's just, I just simplified it, and so it's about, well, helping me to help others, and that is the focus of it. It's what it's always been. So people will reach out to me, communicate to me, and I help connect them into services, and I help them with the resources that I've created myself to just kind of spark that curiosity within them as to know what's going on, and also help them see their future differently.
And you work with the UN, right? Can you explain that? That's not something you hear often, so that's definitely something that caught my eye right away. Can you explain that and the meaning behind it?
I was in the US actually doing some work with World Kindness, and I got the opportunity to go to the UN. And when I was there, I met, I learnt about the Sustainable Development Goals. And so there are 17 goals that need to be achieved by 2030 so that our planet can be sustainable. And for me, goal number 3, good health and well-being, really stood out. And I, have had conversations and went to do further training in Toronto. And I said, if we don't get human sustainability right, then the others won't shift.
It won't matter, right?
They won't budge, because right now the grip of overwhelm, whether it's taking the form of addiction, whether it's taking the form of mental health struggles, whatever that form it's taking, that overwhelmed feeling within us as human beings stops us from engaging with our purpose, with our passion, with our environment in a way that we need to, and helping people to recognize what that overwhelm is actually communicating to them, and how to make those sustainable shifts within their world so that they can be awake and intentional is the key, so that then you can see the environment that's around you. You can see the maltreatment of others, and you can act because you're operating from a place that has enough in reserves to be of use and service to others. But if you're trapped and drowning in your own stuff, you simply don't have the capacity to do more, to be more. And
I agree.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think one more thing I kind of just I need to throw out there. It's definitely a taboo topic. And how do you feel being a female entrepreneur, doing this whole thing while being a female? Because right now, it's a big debate whether or not, it's harder, it's easier. Has it made it harder for you?
I think this has been a hard road. I think I was naive in the beginning, thinking it would be easier, and that people would naturally want to help. And, on some level that has happened, but on another level, busting people out of the mindset of thinking about addiction in a different way is harder than I anticipated, because there's, really deeply entrenched mindsets around it. But as far as entrepreneurism, I think I found that men have a simpler path in this space. I think it's really great.
Have you seen examples like that you've encountered?
Yes, but I think they just still have a very big network,
Mm-hmm.
and it seems simpler. I could be wrong, but it just
No. I mean, speak, please. Speak how you feel, because it's definitely a big topic, and what it doesn't matter where you are in the world. I think that obviously there's things being done, and there's still things that need to be done as well. I'm fully supportive of of equality, and I'm just curious, how for you, if you felt that it kind of got out of the way, or because a lot of females have different points of view on this, and some think it helped them, some think it gave them that edge because they were able to be different. So I think there's numerous ways.
I think, it is an incredible time to be a female. I think that there is really, really exciting conversations and opportunities for women. So, on that front, it's amazing. I think there's still, that competition more than collaboration, and that frustrates me at times. And I've experienced that both males and females, in not committed to genuine collaboration, more, carving out their own turf. And that saddens me, because, I think I'm about big shift and seeing communities thrive and building in resilience. So that can't happen if people are worried about, competition. It just goes completely against everything that I'm trying to build.
Yes.
So it's been, I guess, when that presents itself, it makes it clear, okay, you're not the right person to be dealing with, and I keep moving. But it's it's a frustrating space.
I can imagine.
I'm grateful for the opportunities that this new burst of being an entrepreneur has created, because I think it's given rise to people's individual creativity. What I haven't enjoyed seeing is the, let's capitalize at all costs. And that, I don't like that. And I think it's people don't realize it's a rabbit hole they're crawling down as much as dragging others with them, because they'll get to a point where they're not okay within themselves, and that is the breeding ground for addiction and mental health struggles. If you're not congruent.
That's crazy how you just did a full circle with that. That's wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's very interesting stuff. I think definitely a lot to think about right there, how you said it. And how you just made a full circle. That's even crazier, and it's scary, right? It's scary to think about it that way. Well, I know that the listeners will find all this very, very useful and helpful, and everybody that wants to follow Kate Seselja, be sure to check her out, thehopeprojectnow.com, at The Hope Project Now. Pretty much, anywhere on social media, on our website. And before, without further ado, we're about to have our listeners' favorite segment of the show. And that
Welcome
is
to the round with no name, because they're all taken.
the lightning round, where you have 5 seconds to initiate an answer. And if you go over the 5 seconds, then there could be some repercussions. But hopefully we don't have to deal with my producer. He's usually lurking around, but hopefully he doesn't come out or anything, and we don't have to deal with him. But without further ado, are you ready? Are you ready for this moment?
I'm ready. Bring it.
Okay. Who has been or currently is your greatest mentor?
I don't know.
That's your answer. I don't know. Okay, we'll
Oh
take
my
that. We'll
gosh.
take that as an answer. That's it. We gotta go. Who is your? What is your greatest book? Your favorite book?
The Body Keeps the Score, Bessel van der Kolk.
I'm not sure I've heard of that one. If you
Oh,
were stranded on an island, what is the one item you want with you?
my kids.
I think that's actually a boss to boss first. Surprisingly, no one has had their kids, I think, before ever. So you win an award for best answer so far, I think, for that one. How do you feel about entrepreneurism? Do you think it's a fad?
I think it is in elements a fad.
Mm-hmm.
That the cream will rise to the surface. Does that make sense?
That makes plenty of sense. How do you drink your coffee?
White and two.
What does that mean?
It means with
No idea.
milk and two sugars.
Okay, I was thinking cream, but then I'm like, you got almond milk, you got coconut milk, you got
Yeah.
goat's milk. I mean, it could be a lot of whites out there.
Well, to be honest, I'm more a green tea girl. But if I do have a coffee, it's with milk and two sugars.
Okay, I'll do a white and two next time Okay, if I ever see you, I'll make sure to get you a coffee white and two. And they'll look at me just like I looked at you out here.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it.
How do you feel about just socks with sandals? How do you feel about that?
No, no,
No?
no.
Okay. I'm glad the camera is pointed at my face right now and not at my feet. What is the one item you want with you that or that you consume every day? It could be something you drink, you eat, you wear it. The one thing you just need it every single day, and it makes you you.
Um, I, I'm a makeup girl. I think I couldn't be okay if I didn't have my makeup.
What is there, like a specific brand that you're obsessed with?
No, no, just it's part of my, showing up for me that I, just take that time, that care with me. But it's not, I don't have
Okay.
amazing brands, but yeah.
Well, next time if you want to promote a brand, let us know. And finally, if you had a boatload of money right now, you just stumbled upon a jackpot, and you could start up any business. You are funded to start up any business you wanted right now, and it could be anything, but it can't be what you're doing. What would it be?
Mm. Um, an amazing school, like a new school system.
Okay.
Mm,
I like that. That goes with your whole theme of teaching people early on.
hmm Totally.
All right. Well,
Life school.
what kind of school? Life school?
Life school.
Life school. Oh, I like that. It just shows that you would still keep doing something you're doing right now, no matter how much money you had. And I think that's very important right now. And it just shows that, your mindset is there and you know what you want. You are in control. All right. Well, you're there. I'm here. We survived. My producer did not show up anywhere. I don't see him good. And we made it. We made it through the round. Any question you want to elaborate on?
Oh, no. I hope that I have provided some goodness for your listeners. I think you're doing an incredible job, and, encouraging people to think outside the box is so important. Firing up curiosity is absolutely paramount.
Thank you. Yeah, no, definitely you have provided so much value for everybody. You definitely took a different perspective because we we were still able to tie everything in, like everything you went through, and now that you actually run your own business, and you are such a leader, and you're here doing TED Talks, you're here TEDx talks, and you're doing you're working with the UN, and you're playing such a vital role, and it all kind of stems from the experiences you built. So whether or not someone has bad experiences at work or just bad experiences working for a boss, like you had many other situations and took it all and made it into who you are now. And I could see that. I could feel it just when you talk, like how behind you are all these topics. And for everybody listening, be sure to check out thehopeprojectnow.com. Also on Instagram, the.hope.project on Instagram, and Facebook, it's at The Hope Project Now. Kate Seselja, any closing words? The mic is yours. If there's anything else you want to mention, it's been a pleasure to have you.
Oh, the pleasure's been mine. And, just for your listeners at home, growth, not shame. That's where the power is.
I love that. Growth, not shame. That is amazing. That is very strong. Wow. Short and sweet and to the point. Perfect. I'm going to end it at that. It's been such a pleasure having you on. I can't wait to talk further and see what amazing things you're going to be doing in a year or two from now.
Thank you so much for your support. Very grateful.
That is all for this episode of Boss to Boss. Your next step is to visit bosstoboss.com, where you will find proven techniques followed by professionals to help you make that next step. Again, that is boss2boss.com. And remember, the time is now.